Tim McDonald with Oblivion Myth, and you're listening to Metalhead Alliance.
Hey, what's up, everybody? So this is Jesse over at Metalhead Alliance, and I am on the phone right now with Tim McDonald, who is from and leads vocals for the heavy metal band Oblivion Myth. Tim, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Jesse? Hey, how's that beautiful bride?
Oh man, we were both doing great. I appreciate you asking. Doing good, enjoying the married life.
Good.
So let me ask you: are you a wrestling fan? Just before we get into the interview at all, are you like a fan of, professional like WWE stuff like that?
You know, I'll be honest with you. I haven't followed it in the last few years, but as a younger man, I was very much into it. I remember all the way back to things like Georgia Championship Wrestling, NWA, the Road Warriors,
Oh yeah,
Ric Flair, that. So. Yeah, and you know, that kind of ties into my approach into music because I heard David Lee Roth say a few years, a long time ago, honestly, he said that he approached heavy rock like it was pro wrestling, that he liked to create this larger-than-life character. Yeah. And I'm very much the same way. You know, I jokingly call myself the metal diva, and it's all this thing about kind of creating a larger-than-life character on stage.
Sure. Well, as you may know, I don't know if you still keep up with it. I have friends that really keep up with it as well. And tonight is Monday Night Raw, so there's that. While everybody's watching wrestling, we're sitting here talking about Oblivion Myth. And so speaking of which, now for those of you or for those of the people that are out here listening that don't know about the history and stuff of the band, could you provide us with some of the background, who founded the band, stuff like that? Give us a little rundown of the myth behind the Oblivion Myth, so to speak.
Yeah, Keith Smith is lead guitar player, and he was the founder of the band. He moved here from up north. He's a Chicago boy, and he moved here, and he was trying to put together the power metal band of his dreams. Mm-hmm. And I'm actually the third lead singer in the band. It's been going on since around 2006, I think, is really when he got here and started getting things going.
Okay.
And they recorded. I met Keith back in the day, back around 2006. I was in a good band back then that looked like it was about to start going places, and he was just putting something together. It was hard for me to imagine leaving at that time, so unfortunately, my band fell apart. And he had already met some folks and put together a group, and they recorded the first album, which is Between Light and Shadow. Yes. And they ended up, that singer was Andy Freeman, and he moved to Florida. They got Ray LeGrand and had him for a while. Oh. And then my turn came, and, Andy Freeman actually was the producer on our Inside the Mirror CD. So it's pretty much a family thing.
Right.
Everyone stayed friendly, stayed in touch.
That's good. And how long have you, like you say, you've been with the band now? The band was formed around 2006 or so, and you've been with the band for how long?
Almost 3 years now, about that time. And that's been a pretty big 3 years for the band.
Yeah.
We took legacy songs that had been written and been played live many times. We got them recorded, and we got an album going, and I contributed a couple of songs to that. We did a couple of co-writes, too. And it's been an important 3 years for the band, and, I'm blessed to have a little bit of income to be able to spend to make sure the CD got done, that we got disc prep and the recording sessions done and all those things. So, I very much feel like I was put here at the right time to help the band complete its destiny, and it was good for me, too.
That's great, and it seems like you're a really good fit for the band. I was turned on to Oblivion Myth during your time. I didn't really know of or listen to the band beforehand, so not seeing anybody else perform or hear anything else really, I got to say, your sound with your vocals really does bring, you know, it's like the perfect fit for the style of music. So, and you guys, how long have you personally been singing, Tim? You do a lot of stuff. Anybody that follows you on social media, I know you do quite a few, like, you know, singings on your drives here and to and from work, or here and there, everywhere, wherever. You kind of do this little live Facebook thing, which is really cool. It's got a really raw element to it. People can, you know, be exposed to your vocal style. How long have you been singing?
Oh, a long time. Since I started singing in bands when I was 17.
Okay.
Just, you know, sitting in a bedroom with a friend of mine. He wanted to learn to play guitar. I wanted to learn to sing. We were huge Judas Priest fans. We wanted to live our dreams, you know.
Yeah.
And it's been a long work. You know, I've been in a lot of bands that went nowhere, that would spend 1,000 hours in band practice and then fall apart.
Wow.
And there's a lot of musicians that have similar stories, but I really feel like I'm in the right place, and all of that time was preparing me and forging me in the fire where I was ready for something like this.
Has it always been, you know, music along this line? You know, I mean, for those that maybe don't know what Oblivion Myth sounds like, you know, there's a lot of classic heavy metal. You know, you say Judas Priest, Accept, you know, some of the classic heavy metal from days gone by that have been relived and stuff recently a lot. And have you always sung that style of music in the bands that you've been in?
Yeah, I really have. You know, as a kid, I idolized Rob Halford, and so he's been, you know, my metal father in that way, and I've emulated his style, and I've always tried to, you know, do the mixed voice with the high falsetto screams and the more chest voice. You know, and I took voice lessons in college. I went to the University of Tennessee, and I've tried hard to make myself as good as I can be. Sure,
and it shows for sure. Speaking a little bit about the Inside the Mirror album, this album was released, was it last year, 2016?
Yeah, actually, almost exactly a year ago. It was June 2016 was the official release date, and we had our album release party down at Main Street in Murfreesboro. And that was a good show. Yeah,
and it really was a great album. Matter of fact, it was, I guess you know, the band's got quite a few awards listed on your you know, social media's Facebook page and stuff. But last year the album was awarded Album of the Year for 2016, and it was awarded by the I guess it's a Christian metal site, AngelicWarlord.com. How was that? You know, how did it feel to receive this award, especially given, you know, your relatively short time with the band in comparison to how long it's been around? How did it feel to receive that award?
But, you know, obviously it feels good. It's not a Grammy, but we'll take it. And I think it's a testament to us having a winning hand of cards this time, because we recorded with Curtis Erdick at his Audiotopia studio in Laverne, and he's a really talented musician. I go back with him, was in a band with him briefly 10 years ago, and he's got a good studio, good facility, he's smart, he's talented, he knows what he's doing. He actually played lead guitar, the solos on two of the songs. The two I wrote on Inside the Mirror. The two that I wrote were Battle Angels and Sea of Tranquility, and he does the lead guitar solos on those. But starting with him, great session. He's a great coach, great mentor for us, great recording engineer. And then Andy Freeman, the original singer on the first Oblivion Myth CD, he did the production and the mix and the mastering and all that. Andy's a really talented guy. He's a hard act to follow, ain't no doubt. He's a good singer. Yeah. And I think we just had a winning team this time. We put the right folks together. We got it done. And I'm very gratified. You know, we were awarded this Album of the Year 2016 over several bands that are way more famous than us. You know, there's a Christian metal band called Theocracy that's very popular. And it's really gratifying to be recognized like this. Very surprising. Sure. But we'll take it. And I feel very good about it.
That's great. And congratulations on that, too, by the way. It's well deserved.
Thank you.
So speaking of that, you know, recognized by a you know, Christian metal site, it's obviously a very strong influence within the band's, you know, values, lyrically. You know, there's a lot of those tones. Can you elaborate a little bit more about how the two combine? Because typically, I mean, it's not really something that a lot of people would just automatically think of. Oh yeah, Christian faith and heavy metal. They kind of are, you know, on the surface, you know, very opposite elements and stuff. So, was the band founded on that, and did it carry over later on, or how does that all play into the band lifestyle and everything?
I don't think that the band was founded on that. I think it's a thing that has developed, and when I joined the band, we made a very conscious decision to ratchet that up and crank the whole Christian element up. But, you know, that's something that I think is almost a fallacy in this case. If you think about it, what other form of music, other than, say, gospel, you know, truly religious music,
right,
what other form of music more acknowledges God, Satan, heaven, hell, all of those things? You know, heavy metal is a really kind of a pretty religious form of music. You're just kind of choosing the side, you know? And think about the old bands. What did they call themselves? Black Sabbath, Judas Priest.
Yeah.
They understood. And so I think it's inseparable, and I think that metal is very much a religious form of music. It's just really kind of the question of what side do you choose, you know?
Yeah.
So that's something that we're kind of having a refinement here. We're trying to figure out exactly how we want to present this live and present this to people.
Sure.
We know that there's an unfortunate perception that Christians are judgmental, that we're going to condemn, and nothing could be further from the truth, you know?
Oh, yeah.
You know, I know you from your Facebook feeds, from our few meetings. I know that you're very much into a Norse kind of religion, and,
sure,
you know, that you're still my brother, and we still love you, and it's a thing where, you know,
it doesn't
our
divide.
feeling is that there is no condemnation, that we're all bought and paid for, that our sins are forgiven, and God is not there to tell you, you know, you've done wrong and I'm going to punish you. He just wants you to come home.
It's interesting perception, yeah. I mean, and the amount of devotion, the amount of you know, dedication that is seen, and the amount of you know, the sense of brotherhood, or the sense of family and camaraderie that's seen in the heavy metal community isn't really rivaled in I think any other style or genre of music. It's a very close-knit community, and it's kind of like, you know, regardless of what your political, religious, or other, you know, views are, there's always that common ground, and I think it's a great platform, if you will, to express your values. And you know, it's not like you're out there preaching and you're out there shoving things down people's throats. It's how you're expressing it, and I think it shines, you know, exceptionally well for you guys. And I think you really are handling it well, and doing it in a way that people don't feel like obligated to, you know, go down a certain path. You know, they love the music, and they love the intensity, and the for anybody out here who's listening that hasn't seen Oblivion Myth, I mean, it's a very high energy show, and you know, you guys deliver a good message, and it's great. I think you guys really do well with that. So congratulations with that.
Yeah, we definitely want to attract people, not repel them, and
Sure.
that's a fine line that you walk. You know, it's something where, you know, even in our lyrics, you know, and we have a song called "Beyond This Home," and there's a line in the song. It's not for me to say how to live your life, but what I say to you might just save you some strife.
That's great. Going back a little bit, we talked a little bit in the beginning, and as a matter of fact, you brought it up yourself. This title, this moniker that you've been given, you know, as the Metal Diva. Did that nickname originate before your involvement with Oblivion Myth, or where did that come from? Was it your involvement with the band? How did that whole thing start, if you can pinpoint it?
You know, the funny thing about nicknames is you don't get to choose it for yourself.
Right.
So we would have a lot of, like, you know, Durangos and, like, Starlas and Lonesome Wolves running around the world. But I think it was kind of a joke. I am passionate about music, and I'm especially passionate about the writing phase and doing something special and unique and awesome. And I love bands that are kind of more theatrical, that give you a show, that don't just stand there wearing a t-shirt and blue jeans.
Yep.
I like to dress up. I throw on the eyeliner, and I try and add some theater and some emotion and some show to it. And I can be a little stubborn, and I can be opinionated. And some friends of mine, started calling me the metal diva, just jokingly, and it stuck. And I'm cool with that because I actually think it's a pretty cool nickname. There's a lot worse that you could be dubbed with, and again, you don't get to pick it.
Right.
But, I took that and I rolled with it, and I'm not ashamed of it. And the other thing too, you know how it is in rock and roll, with especially the lead singer. I throw on the eyeliner, and obviously everybody knows that diva is a feminine nickname. Divo would be the masculine in the Italian, but if you say diva in America, everybody's going to think wicked good, and that's not me. I roll with the metal diva, and I'm actually happy with that, and it amuses me a great deal.
Sure. Well, it's definitely very fitting. And speaking of your theatrical, the theatrical elements, I should say that Oblivion Myth has picked up on. Every time I've seen you perform, which it hasn't been like every show, and it hasn't been a lot, but each time I see you perform, whether it's live or whether it's through photos or video from a show, your stage persona changes slightly in the sense of you always have a different outfit on or a different getup. Do you have any what inspires you each time to adopt that image per se before each show? Like, do you have a thing that you go through or to kind of figure that out?
I'm the mental son of different fathers and mothers, honestly. Obviously from antiquity, Rob Halford is my vocal inspiration, but in later years, I've really the whole 2000s decade was, to me, a golden age for European metal, symphonic, operatic metal. Mm-hmm. And Rory Khan from Camelot, to me, is one of the great rock tenors who's ever lived. And that whole European gothic, operatic, symphonic metal, they wear different clothing. There's more of a lace and mesh, and it's a little more Victorian, gothic, that kind of thing. So that fashion rubbed off on me. And those outfits are definitely a tribute to those bands that I love, like Camelot and Nightwish, Epica, Therion, Lost to Ride. That's definitely my homage to those bands. Definitely.
And I feel like that is an important element to live shows, regardless of what your genre is as a performer, as a live performer. I feel like it's, people are there to see a show, and they can hear the music through their, stereo speakers and stuff, but if they've come to a live show, they want to see, a visual, something that's going to captivate them. And I think it's up to each band to determine how much or on what level they go with that, but anybody can just listen to music. It's something totally different to actually see a band perform and see what kind of show they can bring.
I agree. I'm not the kind of person that runs around a lot. I strike dramatic poses. That's kind of more my speed. Yeah. Partly just my wind and my breath. And I sing in a very operatic way, so it takes a lot of lung power. It takes a lot of rehearsal. It takes a lot of maintenance. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of work. I sing scales in the car basically every time I'm in the car. So that's just about daily. I try and sing hard, full out, at least 3 days a week, if not more. And I will lose it if I don't apply that level of dedication and rehearsal. Mm-hmm. It's like being an opera singer. It's just I'm not in an opera band. I'm in an operatic metal band.
Right. Besides, like the obviously, having a good sound to deliver and a good stage presence, do you have any other elements that you feel are important in performing live shows? Besides those obvious, we got to sound good, we want to look good. Anything else that you think is important as a live performer to bring to a crowd?
Yeah. I like bands that don't take themselves too seriously. I tend to be a little bit of a joker when I talk about the crowd between songs. I'm a little lighthearted about it. Yeah. I don't think that anybody is impressed if you act too serious to the point that you seem pretentious or a little jerky about it. I would much rather have a warmer personality and persona between the songs. It's pretty lighthearted. I like to thank the crowd for being there. I like to tell them, you know, we're just like you. We're up here doing what we love. We love the same music that you do. Those kinds of things. I like to try and be as approachable as I possibly can.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that resonates. Everybody would probably agree with that. You know, I mean, nobody likes to go to a show, whether it's a local act or whether it's a larger, more established, maybe better known act abroad, and feel like the band couldn't care less about, you know, the people that are out there supporting them. You know, they like to know that they're welcome and that they're approachable and that they feel appreciated. You know, I think it goes both ways.
It does. You know, I mean, I saw the 30th anniversary of the British Steel album of Judas Priest here in Nashville. They came with Whitesnake. It was an epic show. And I'll never forget, one of the things Rob Halford told the crowd was, thank you for allowing us to do what we love all these many years. We couldn't do it without your support. And that stayed with me.
That's fantastic. And that's not the first time that I've heard of how much of a genuine person that Rob is. I have a friend who got to meet him years ago. I think it might have been during Ozfest or Mayhem Fest, one of those big festivals that are no longer going around the United States. I think it was Mayhem Fest some years ago, and she got to meet him at a meet and greet after the show, and she said one of the first things that he asked in the most genuine fashion that you could possibly imagine was the show okay? Was it all right? Did we sound good? You know, like he was asking her, and you know, she was like, "You kidding me? You know, like you're Rob fucking Halford. I mean, why are you asking me that? You know?" But like, he was genuinely like curious and wanting to know, was it okay? Could we have done better? What did you think? You know, and I just thought that was so amazing that, you know, his moniker and his name that he's come to be known by, you know, the metal god, you know, could be so humble and so genuine with his fans during those times, to be, you know, genuinely concerned about his performance and what people think of that. So I that's really cool.
I got my own story. I got to meet him in '84 on the Defenders of the Faith tour.
Oh,
wow. It was in Johnson City, Tennessee, and he was left with the choice of going onto the tour bus and going to sleep or hanging out with us backstage. So he chose to hang out with us, and I got to hang out with him for 2 hours. It was a dream come true.
Wow.
He answered every question we had. He signed every scrap of paper we put in front of him.
Wow.
And he was an amazing gentleman. He was a really nice guy. It made a huge impression on me because he was my idol. I got to meet my idol, and he was nice to me. And I just can't tell you how much that meant to me.
Yeah.
And, nothing but good things to say about him. He knows how to treat his fans.
Yeah. So a lot of people can take note of that. What about, do you have any memorable Oblivion Myth moments, like maybe a lineup that the band, that, you know, while you were in the band that you got to be a part of, or any other just memorable, whether they were on or off the stage, you know, anything that stands out in your mind as a memorable Oblivion Myth moment?
Yeah, you know, they range from the good to the bad. My very first gig with them was probably not my best performance. But nobody said anything, and, you know, I'm a harsh critic of myself. So
Sure.
I was very happy that they lifted me up instead of criticizing, and that was an important moment, you know, for me to feel like, hey, you know, I can do this. I am really hard on myself, probably to a psychotic degree. I probably need to lighten up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I will always remember that because I was disappointed, and I think really that I've only gotten better, more relaxed, and more proficient since that time, more comfortable. That has a lot to do with it. You know, we played a gig in Memphis with that band Killing Grace that's very popular in town right now.
Sure.
And that was a good show, and I enjoyed that a lot. And, you know, we don't get paid a lot to do this. We all have families. We all have jobs. The rewards have to be kind of what you make of it. And oftentimes it's just people coming up to you after the show and shaking your hand saying, man, that was really good. You know, I've learned that you have to kind of feed off of what you get. You know, take what you get, take what the Lord gives you. For me, the great reward is anybody coming up to me at the end of the show and telling me they enjoyed it. and that's good enough.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you know, for what it's worth, man, like, the image that you guys have, you know, like the showmanship that you put forth, everything down to how you display your merchandise at shows, I feel portrays a very professional, very, you know, we take ourselves seriously as a band type of attitude, and I feel like that goes a long way too, because even though, you know, as you just maybe admit that there's not, you know, no money in this, really, we don't make a lot doing it, you know, you put yourselves out there as though, yeah, we're top notch and we're professionals, and I think that goes a long way too in how the band is perceived, because like you say, you know, bands go up there and either don't put forth their whole effort or they don't take themselves seriously enough to you know, for people to take them seriously, and it just trickles down from there. So I feel like you're working well with what you've been given. If you know, if I could put it that way, like you're doing a great job at making yourselves look good and sound good, and putting forth the best image possible with doing what you're doing. So,
you know, there's a lot of talent in this band, and Keith Smith, you know, is a very good guitar player, very good writer. Mm-hmm. He's a good writer of lyrics and music, and his wife Rose is who does the merch table, and she does a top-notch effort. She goes way above and beyond what most bands do. Yeah, she makes a beautiful merch table that draws attention. And, you know, we've got a good hand of cards right now. We got Kevin Butler on bass, the beast of the bass. Yeah. He's well-known in Nashville.
Yes.
He's, you know, a Geddy Lee fan. He actually uses Geddy Lee's exact rig down to the last detail. Mm. That's how big a fan he is.
Wow.
He's also a Harris fan, of course. Those are really good influences for a bass player to have.
Oh, yeah.
And he can play like that, which means our bass lines are active, melodic, ferocious, and he's a great performer. He dresses up for it. He performs like Steve Harris in that way. He plays like Geddy Lee. So we're really pleased to have him. You know, our drummer, Bob Schultz, is got a huge drum set.
Yes, he does.
He plays every bit of it in every song. You know, he's a really active drummer. He's very talented. He's one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my whole life. But, you know, he's handsome. He's got long hair. I never stand next to him in photographs, so I don't look bad in comparison. I'm sure the women love him. You know, he's a really good asset. And we recently acquired a gentleman named Rob Young on lead guitar from Seattle, and he was in a band called My Disgrace. They have a really good CD. He's really a talented guitarist, and he can sing. And he has mentored me spiritually. He's mentored Keith in matters of gear and amplifiers and effects. Huge addition into the band. So we feel like we got a really strong hand of cards right now.
And I got to agree, man. Solid lineup for sure. You've talked about, you know, some memorable moments, maybe some good and some bad that have stood out in your mind. Anything that is particularly odd or unusual band experience that maybe sticks out in your mind? Something that just is kind of like you sat back afterwards and was just like, wow, did that really happen? Or anything like just, you know, kind of quirky or odd?
You know, unfortunately there is an element of politics in promotion and getting gigs, and there's some things that I probably can't discuss that are odd, truly odd. But I would tell you this, probably the weirdest thing that's happened to me is when we played in Memphis, a gentleman there who was a little inebriated, who had my live feeds, and he was very complimentary that I would do live feeds without any effects, without any pretense, without any, you know, attempt to refine my voice. I'm singing basically a cappella, just along with a CD, whatever. But, you know, I'm a pretty good singer, so I'm not scared to do that, and I like the pressure of a live feed. But this gentleman, he told me, he was like, man, you got massive balls to do that. And in a moment of inebriation, he decided to reach down and correct me in a way that I found to be very uncomfortable. And
well.
Brandon from Killing Grace was there, and he goes, what is? So something that was a really odd, embarrassing, uncomfortable, strange moment to be fondled by the man.
Wow, yeah.
But probably the weirdest thing that's
Wow. That's
Yeah.
that ranks up there pretty high, I would say, among any of our books. Any
Yeah,
bands
I'd like
that
to think without alcohol that wouldn't have
probably
happened.
not have happened, yeah. What about what's your dream lineup for Oblivion Myth to share the stage with? Who would you love to share some gigs with, whether they're local or around the world? Who would you love to see Oblivion Myth share stages with?
I have one dream for this band, and that's to play at Aachen, the open air festival in Aachen, Germany.
Mm-hmm.
It is the Woodstock for heavy metal. It is the pinnacle of heavy metal festivals. It sells out every year, a year in advance for like the last 10 years.
Yep.
It is the cream of the crop. Of course, they have multiple stages, and we can play on the smallest stage there.
Sure.
And that'll be a dream come true for me. So that is my dream for this band, is to play at Aachen.
I would love to see that happen for you guys, and I would actually love to go there just to experience once in my life. But that's actually, yeah. I mean, and it can happen, man. I mean, I know bands that are, not personally, but I'm getting, closer to knowing these bands, and I'm having some dealings with these bands who are, a part of that now, and it's definitely attainable, and I definitely hope that you guys can make that happen, as that would be phenomenal.
Get us on that bill.
That's right. Yeah, we'll do everything we can to help out. That's for sure.
We appreciate that.
Yeah. So when people go to like your Facebook page, I notice one of the things that stood out to me was the phrase, "Eternity is real, oblivion is just a myth." Now, explain that in how what does that mean to you personally?
Well, that's a reflection of our Christian faith. I mean, we believe in heaven, and we do not think that when you die that you just become worm food, that it's over, that it fades to black.
Mm-hmm.
Even when we sleep, we dream. I think the concept of oblivion, that is a nothingness, a ceasing to exist, is something the human mind cannot really comprehend. And I think that is natural, that it's by design, that we do go on. I mean, think about Yoda, this being's always not this crude matter, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
There's more to it than just the physical. And so that's what that means. Eternity is real. Oblivion is just a myth. We don't believe that it all fades to black, that you just become worm food, that it's done, that this is the only life you get.
Right.
The Christian, I don't believe in reincarnation per se. There's nothing biblical about that, but we definitely think that we are spirits trapped in the bodies of, mortal bodies here.
Yeah.
And that there is more, that we go on, that there's a new existence, a new reality, a new destiny for us.
Interesting. Makes sense. And that's kind of how I thought it was, but I just was kind of curious to feel if there was anything else behind it, or because I mean the name of the band reflects the values and everything that we just got done talking about over the interview, and so it's all very very fitting,
Well, that's one of the great, and even you as a follower of Norse religion, I mean, you believe in Asgard, Valhalla, those things. So you don't believe that it all ends when our heartbeat stops either, do you?
No. There's we're gonna be here. I mean, there's eternity is something that we're all going to be a part of to some degree, and not with somewhere.
I always remember in that movie Gladiator when Maximus tells his troops before they go into battle, if you find yourself suddenly in a green field with the sun shining on you, it is Elysium, and you're already dead.
Right. Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
Great movie too, by the way. Probably one of my top 10 cinema of all time was Gladiator. I saw it when I was a teenager, maybe young teen, early teens, and been a fan ever since.
It's a good movie, but I'm going to be honest with you. I really thought Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon should have won Best Picture that year, not Gladiator.
It was the best. That was the same year that both of those came out, and I love them both, but for different reasons. I'm kind of a nerd or a geek when it comes to like the old kung fu movies and the over exaggeration of the the moves and stuff like that, the flying and whatnot. It was really well done. It wasn't tacky at all, I don't think, and it was. But yeah, it was definitely, in terms of that, I kind of agree with you on that. But I don't know, man. Gladiator was just kind of one of those movies where I'm like, these types of movies don't come along very often that are this good. Like you'll get these, these King Arthur type movies or these medieval type movies that just kind of go over the top with the CGIs and the effects and stuff. And I felt like Gladiator was a film that stayed pretty true to historical accuracy in terms of what it would have been like there in the arena or in the Coliseum. Like it wasn't over the top with the CGI effects and stuff.
No, not at all. I mean, yeah, they definitely made a very worthy sword and sandal epic.
Yes.
And I love the old kung fu movies too. Remember, Enter the Dragon to me is probably the greatest of them all. And
oh yeah.
I'm trying to work on my voice. I'm singing scales. I'm trying to keep the edge. I'm trying to keep it up. I always remember Mr. Han there on his island when he said, "We are unique, gentlemen, in that we make ourselves through long years of sacrifice, pain, denial. We forge our bodies in the fire of our wills." And I hear that in my head when I'm singing scales. We forge our bodies in the fire of our wills.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Last question, Tim. What the direction for the next Oblivion Myth album? Where do you see that album heading? And do we know yet when we can expect it to be released, if you can say?
No, we can't. I mean, it's really only just begun, honestly.
Okay.
I've got a bunch of songs lined up. The first, or Inside the Mirror, had 7 legacy tunes that Keith had written that the band knew very well, and it was simply time to get them recorded.
Sure.
And this is going to be a whole new slate, but in a way, maybe it's time to work on my backlog. I got a bunch of songs lined up. It's just a matter of getting everybody to sit down and learn them. We know 2 of them so far, but I've got 10 that I think are worthy. And these will be co-writes in a lot of ways. I've got to sit down with Keith and work through the arrangements. I write melodies, lyrics, chord changes.
Yeah.
But I really need him to decide how a guitar player would play those parts and to add some spice and some real musicianship to it. I play guitar, but I'm not a guitar player.
Right.
And he's a really good writing partner for me. And, Rob Young on lead now, he's a really, really good guitarist, and he's going to add an element that we haven't had before. And it's something that I wish would happen yesterday, but it's not going to happen quickly because we've got to beat through these songs. And the way we normally do it is we introduce a song, we play it enough in the band room until everybody feels fairly comfortable with what they're going to do, and then we make a demo. And we use, GarageBand, things like that, basic recording software to make these demos. But that gives everybody a copy that they can rehearse on their own time. And at the point where we've got 10 songs that we feel comfortable with, then we go in the studio and we call it an album. And we don't write in the studio. We just track. We already know what the song is. We're just going to record it well now. And I think, that's how we did Inside the Mirror, and I think it's how we're going to do the next one. And I've got a lot of ideas of what the next album should be called. I've already worked up album art. Again, we've got 10 songs lined up that I think are good songs. They are going to fit Oblivion Myth, but I think in some ways it's going to be a slightly different album. Keith is very much a thrash player by nature, but he loves prog metal. He loves Dream Theater. That's his favorite band. And I think that we're trending more towards a different sound than we had last time, because those were songs that had been written over the last few years, and they were a little more on the thrash side sometimes. So, I did the songs Battle Angels and Sea of Tranquility. If you listen to the songs, you have almost a bit of a preview of kind of what the next album, I think, is going to be flavored like. And, I just give you some working titles. We have a song called In Your Arms. We have a song called The Veil, which is obviously a religious reference to the moment where Jesus gave up his spirit on the cross.
Right.
The veil in their sanctum in Jerusalem, in the temple, the Holy of Holies temple, the veil was ripped in two.
Right.
And that's in the lyrics,
Yes.
We have a song called Love Child. We have a song called Ocean of Tears. We have a song called, there's a bunch of them. I don't want to give away too much,
sure.
but
it's definitely in the works anyway.
I'm really far ahead into the whole concept, the design, and the idea of what the album is going to be in my head and on the work that I do. It's really a question. We've been gigging every weekend pretty much for a while, and we play out of state as much as we can. Yeah. And, Nashville is a great town. It's a great rock and roll town. It's actually a pretty darn good heavy metal town. But we can't play here every weekend. People get bored with the band every weekend. They don't want to go see you every weekend. Mm-hmm. So we've got to take the message out. We played in Duluth, Georgia, 2 weeks ago. A great show. The Georgia Metal Alliance are a great bunch of people. Georgia is a great heavy metal state.
Yes, they are.
Rock Powder in Atlanta, which is the premier metal festival in America. Mm-hmm. That's our goal, is to take the word out beyond Nashville, to play out as much as we can, but we have to make time for writing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Any more guest spot, you think? Because I know on Inside the Mirror you had some songs with some guest vocals. You think you may reach out to some people you've worked with before, or maybe some new features? Is that maybe something in the lineup as well for the new album, you think? Or?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So that's the thing. I've got a song that's actually kind of a ballad, and I hope to have some acoustic guitar in it, some things like that we have not done before. But it is about Lazarus and Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. And the song, the ladies there who called Jesus to his tomb to raise Lazarus were Mary and Martha. And we had Kat Fridgman, who's a great local rock singer.
Yes.
On the Inside the Mirror album, she did a duet with me called Everlasting Fire. It's probably my favorite song on the whole CD. But we're going to hope to get Kat back on this, and there are two ladies in a local bands here that are really, really good performers. They're wonderful people. We love them a lot, Vicki Reed and Carmen Sanders. Mm-hmm. And my plan is to get Kat, Vicki, and Carmen in on this song, if not to do backup vocals on some other songs, but that's my secret plans. Or I'm going to do a photo shoot with those three.
Very nice.
And I'm going to dub them as our backup singers, the Battle Angels. So Vicki and Carmen and Kat, yes, I really very, very much hope to get them on the next CD. And I think it's a great idea to bring in other people. All these European bands that I love, duets, guest stars.
Yeah.
It's very cool, and I love that. One of my great inspirations is the Camelot song. It's called The Haunting. It's got Roy Khan and Simone Simmons.
Yes.
And it's a wonderful duet. It's a great song, and when I do Everlasting Fire with Kat on stage, we join hands as we're singing, exactly like Roy Khan and Simone Simmons do when they sing that song live, and it's purely an imitation. I'm stealing their move and all that, but it's just, it's a tribute to the things that I love.
Yeah, and it's a really great song. I've seen that song, a couple times when you guys do it, and it's always really, for the photographers out in the crowd that are capturing your shows, that's always a really cool opportunity. It's a special moment, and it fits the show really well.
Yeah, so. I don't know if the people that follow your website are aware of what a good photographer you are, and you've taken some of the best pictures, some of my favorite pictures of Oblivion Myth and his me on stage. So mad props to you as a photographer. You capture great moments.
Well, thank you very much, Tim. I appreciate that. Before we go, man, can you tell everybody where we're going to link all your social media and where we can, people can find your music? Where are all those locations at? Where can people, support you guys?
We're basically every social media you can think of / Oblivion Myth.
Okay.
I think on Facebook it's Oblivion Myth Band, but
right.
Twitter / Oblivion Myth, Instagram / Oblivion Myth, Facebook, all of those places. We're on Reverb Nation / Oblivion Myth. Reverb Nation is a nice place to go and hear music for free. Mm-hmm. We have songs from Inside the Mirror that you can listen to. There are also songs from the previous album, Between Light and Shadow, with Andy Freeman on vocals. So,
oh wow, okay.
And YouTube is a great place to see live clips of Oblivion Myth. And
fantastic.
The more recent ones, of course, feature me singing. There are older ones with Ray LeGrand singing. Mm-hmm. So, There's no shortage.
Pretty much everywhere, yeah. They just search for it and they'll find it. We're gonna definitely link everything in the comment, in the description of the video. When this is up on YouTube, people that are listening to this now, check out the description of the video for all the social media and website links where you can find Oblivion Myth. Definitely check them out if you follow them on social media to see where their next shows are going to be, and definitely follow them. Hit up a local show if they're coming to your area. You're not going to be disappointed. If you like things like the classic heavy metal from like the 80s and Judas Priest, Accept, if you like operatics, proggy, just heavy upbeat type stuff, these guys are definitely something worth checking into and supporting them in any way that you can. So that pretty much wraps it up for me, Tim. I want to thank you for taking so much of your time tonight and talk with me, and we'll see you out at a show sometime soon, I hope, and we're looking forward to the next Oblivion Myth album, whenever that may be.
Hey, can I plug our next 2 shows?
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us where your next 2 shows are going to be at. And
right. So in a week, June 12th in Nashville here at the Family Wash, we're doing a very special show called The Night Before Maiden, because Iron Maiden is going to play in Nashville June 13th. So the night before, June 12th, the Family Wash, a great local band called Noise Cult is going to play, Oblivion Myth is going to play, and then an all-star cast from the metal scene in Nashville are all going to get up on stage and play Iron Maiden songs. And we're going to do it until 2 minutes to midnight, and then we're going to play 2 minutes to midnight.
That's perfect.
That's going to be an incredible show, and there's so much talent. There's probably a dozen different musicians that are going to participate. It's a special event, and we hope to see everyone there. After that, there is, on June 24th, a special charity event for Matt Edmondson from Killing Grace. He's got some medical bills that we're going to try and help him pay off. There are 6 bands playing, and it is at a club called Nash Vegas here in Nashville, June 24th. And it starts early. It starts at 6 p.m. and it goes till midnight. So you got 6 bands, 6 hours of metal. It's all heavy rock bands. I think we're going to go on first, and I'm actually really pumped about that. We're going to pop the cork off the champagne bottle. We're going to light the fuse. We're going to set the tone. And we're going to kick ass and take names. So get there at 6, and you will see us. Fantastic.
So June 12th at, what was the place again?
June 24th.
And June 24th. So June 24th is in Nash Vegas, at Nash Vegas in Nashville, and then June 12th was where again?
The Family Wash in East Nashville.
In East Nashville. Okay, so good. 2 Nashville shows. We're going to get those event page links too in the description, so everybody listening now, check the description for those links. We're going to link those events for you to get the details on those 2, directions, addresses, all that fun stuff. So yeah, Nashville peeps, anybody in and around the area willing to travel for a weekend of some killer music over the next couple weekends, definitely come out and support these guys and support the causes for which they play this metal. So thanks again, Tim, for joining us today, and we will talk to you soon, buddy.
Been a pleasure. God bless you.
You too, man. Thanks.